Paid for by Citizens for Ken Lanci. Joseph Casaro, Treasurer.
Well, it's hard to believe that in less than 48 hours the polls are going to be open, and this election is going to be underway. November 2nd, 2010, and turns out to be the most important election that Cuyahoga County will ever be involved in, and as voters making a choice for a new government. When we started, I couldn't find any supporters. I was basically kind of turned away and told that I must be crazy. I don't know what are you thinking? But what I was thinking is that it was something I needed to do, and as a result of that, we started.
Party's over, our frustration. Either side, there's no salvation. But now, my friend, we finally get another try. In the end, please don't let this chance go by. Seize the moment, 'cause when it's gone, then it's gone. Seize the moment, 'cause when it's gone, then it's gone. If you don't want the same old players to play the same old song, seize the moment, 'cause when it's gone, then it's gone.
If you remember back, I mean, obviously I do, I wasn't met with a lot of enthusiasm and yeah, we can do this with the people that sat in these chairs. And when you start a process, and whether you start a campaign or you start a new business or you start to run a new government, you have to get people that you believe are going to do the best job for you. And by and large, the crew that we put together pretty much is the core crew that we ended up with. As you know, we've all spoken individually, and you've signed up for a long campaign. Traditionally, not this long, but we're going to take a different approach. The key, I believe, is that we have taken a campaign going forward, and we can all look at each other and feel good about what we've done. And I can tell you that all of our volunteers, over the 1,000 people that we've had, in our campaign helping us, they've really felt good about what we've done, and their help, we feel good about, how much they've helped us. So it's been really a wonderful experience. Seize the moment! When I started the campaign, I announced that I would work for $1 a year and save the county well over $1 million in the 4 years that I would be there. I also limited my contributions to $250 per person, and also announced my candidacy as an independent. I will not be beholden to anybody but all the people of Cuyahoga County. What you get when you get parties that get too much power, they don't work for us. Somewhere along the line, there is a disconnect. And somehow, some way, we have to pull that together. I am not going to serve the party because I don't have one. I am not going to help political cronies because I don't have any.
When I get a chance to hear him speak from the heart, it just re-energizes me, and I'm just glad to be a part of this. So, go Ken Lanci.
When we started, shaking hands and having meetings, and then we got into parades, and I can tell you that, I never knew there were so many parades in our county. We've had over 1,000 meetings and events that I've attended, and as I've gone through and shaken hands, and hundreds and hundreds, then became thousands and thousands, and became 10,000 and 10,000 more. And I have to tell you, I've probably touched 25,000, 30,000 people easily myself over the last 10 months. And the outpouring of affection, I think, is probably the better word to put. The outpouring of affection has been great.
I'm out here giving Ken Lanci a few hours of my workday because he's given me 4 years of his life to turn around Cuyahoga County. I've got 2 words to say to him: grazie, grazie.
Yeah, in early May we hosted a young professionals event for Ken Lanci, and months later on Columbus Day, the closer we get to the election, I feel the urge more and more to have to spread the word and help Ken.
It is encouragement, and it's what's fueled me along the way here. And people say, hey, you look good, you don't look tired. And I've told them I feel more energized today than I have in a long, long time. And every day it just seemed to get better and better. And so I've enjoyed the process, and I hope I get the opportunity to do for everybody what I've been telling them I can do.
Seize the
Politicians point fingers and make outrageous claims. Our county is bleeding. But if you just turn down the noise, you'll hear the truth. There are 70,000 people out of work in our county. I'm a proven job creator. Property taxes for senior citizens and working families are too high. Politicians don't understand that growth is the answer, and only a turnaround expert like myself can create real growth. If you join me, we will turn this county around. You know, another thing that has really encouraged me is that I met Republicans, I met Democrats, I've met people that says, look, I'm straight up independent, okay? So, I don't go party because I try to pick the best person. But when somebody walks up to you and says, look, I have been a Democrat for the last 57 years, and I have voted Democratic consistently, but I'm voting for you this time. That really means a lot to me.
I, too, am a strong Democrat, very strong. I come from a political family, and when I walked in here tonight, I didn't know where my vote was going to be, but you solved that problem tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ken Lanci.
For Ken Lanci.
My mail-in ballot, I voted for him.
I know that a lot of people have already voted absentee ballot, and there's just now probably a third of the people, maybe 40%, that are going to go to the polls. But I could tell you that the process that we've embarked upon was to educate people that they're not changing parties when they vote independent. If you're a Democrat, you're still a Democrat. If you're a Republican, you're still a Republican. You're just getting to the point where you're fed up. What voting for me will do is to send a message, okay, to all Dems, all Republicans, all the way through the country. I can tell you today that you have a choice. There is a choice. There's a difference here. As an independent, I have no party. I have no allegiance to anybody but all of you. This is the only opportunity you're going to have in your lifetime to put an independent in to set the new government so that it works for all of you. We have the vote. Keep that in mind. Send that message to every politician. When there's a viable alternative that's not a party, we will vote for them because we want you to work together. If you don't start working together, we're going to throw you out. The one thing that people decided last November, November 2009, when they voted for Issue 6, was that they wanted reform and they wanted transparency. And one of the ideas that we came up with in the campaign was that I decided to run a weekly show called The Candidate.
I remember the first time I walked into Ken Lanci's office, and I didn't know what to expect. He brought up the fact that he wanted to do a reality TV show based around his campaign, and I thought to myself, well, there's a challenge.
I felt that if you had a behind-the-scenes look at times of what's going on, some of the questions, some of the issues we deal with, that may give everybody the opportunity to be invested and included in the process.
Let's talk about this homeless shelter. The whole campaign team is really concerned about this. It just doesn't look like a good idea.
I've been to 33 other agencies. It's not a political stunt, it's due diligence. And if I don't go talk to those guys and understand exactly what their issues are, then how they got there, we're never going to be able to figure out how to get them out of there or prevent them from going. So, as you could see today, we're making, no effort to hide, if you will, some of the stuff. The camera in the background here, you may see Bobby back there working, and so it is about what a new government will be. The whole idea is that you wanted change, and I am definitely change.
Today at the City Club, we are listening to a debate between Matt Dolan, David Ellison, Edward Fitzgerald, Ken Lanci, Tim McCormick, and Don Scipione.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today. I would never have thought that when I graduated high school that I would end up at the City Club speaking to a distinguished group of people. But the grace of God, here I am. I was born on 110th and Woodland. I've been in the city, in the county, my entire life. My parents were on relief. As I said, I graduated from high school, went into family business that was virtually bankrupt, did my first turnaround, and as they say, the rest is history. I've owned dozens of companies, dozens of turnarounds, and this is my way, my opportunity to give back to this community. So let's take a look into the future, if you will, 4 years from now, and see what the Lanci administration has done. We live in a county that's creating private sector jobs, just as I did during my 40 years in business. The jobs created by the casino and the medical mart were kept in the hands of county residents because I worked with Tri-C to develop workforce training programs for those jobs before they arrived, and those weren't the only jobs I created. Back in 2011, I created a database called Cuyahoga Jobs US. The needs cataloging our human assets as well as our physical assets to easily satisfy the needs of companies worldwide. And as a result, a local economy that was struggling in 2010 is thriving in 2014. The Lanci administration made Cleveland, Greater Cleveland, the export capital of the Midwest by working with the U.S. Export Assistance Center. Cleveland manufacturing and opening up more markets is now what we are doing here in Cleveland. Our port is busy and making money for the county. We've restored fairness to the property tax system. Citizens' appeals are being heard by qualified appraisers, and outcomes are based upon the true value of their properties, not the value of their political friendships. We have restored honor to public service. In 2014, our front pages are filled with county employees lending a hand to members of the community, rather than being led away in handcuffs as they were in 2010. We have balanced the budget by setting the highest standard of human services, not by cutting services or raising taxes, but by growing our way out of hard times and turning the fat in the county and the government into muscle, just as I did in business. I've earned $4 for my 4 years as executive, saving over $1 million, and we're now the leader in job creation and youth retention, rather than poverty and foreclosures. That was a deal of a lifetime. Who would have thought that so much could be turned around and achieved in only 4 years? I did, and you did too by voting for me. If you like this future world, elect the only candidate that has created hundreds and hundreds of jobs for your county executive. If you like the world of the current dysfunctional, county-mired, high unemployment, hopelessness, unfair property tax assessments, and partisan bickering, then feel free to vote for my opponents. They created this system, and they will perpetuate it. I'm Ken Lanci, the real independent. For 40 years, I've been turning around failing organizations, creating jobs, and turning failure into success. I am a crisis manager, and we are in a crisis, make no mistake. Put me to work for $1 a year, and you will get the change that you're asking for. Thank you.
And we'll now have the rebuttals.
And Ed Fitzgerald was part of the issue 5. He stood with Frank Russo and Jimmy DeMora. And then subsequent to the vote, we found out some of the same issue 5 supporters are either named, indicted, or pled guilty to the corruption we're involved in.
It's incredible to me. You literally are not eligible to run for county council. You've never, because there's a 2-year residency requirement, because the people that drafted the charter felt that it made sense for somebody to at least be rooted enough in the community to have lived there for a couple of years, and you'd never lived here before. You've never even voted in a general election before. You didn't vote for issue 6 because you weren't even here.
Well, we've heard it. We continue to hear it, the political bickering back and forth. He said, she said. And when you're talking about real reform, I have to ask myself, who is connected to who's doing what, and how are we going to change what we've been doing? Now, you can connect the dots as well as I can. You've got Mr. Mason, who is a friend of Mr. Scipione's, who worked on the charter with him. You have Mr. Mason, okay, who is a friend of Mr. Fitzgerald. You have Mr. Mason, who is a friend of Mr. Zanotti, who is now a friend of Mr. Dolan. Now, let me explain something. This is pretty simple. It's anybody but Lanci. Anybody but Lanci. Lanci is the only guy who's put his own money in. Lanci is the only guy who owes nobody anything. Lanci's the only guy none of them can control. That scares him because the machine goes down when I get in. Now, you want change? You want reform? You voted for reform. I'm reform. I'm working for you, all of you. I don't see Republicans or Democrats, and I don't see skin color. I see the opportunity, finally, in a new government to work for you, all the people. Lanci, thank you.